Dream big, never stop dreaming, because you can do whatever that you want as long as you believe in your dreams.
Welcome to the Dare to Dream Productions podcast. Today, our guest is a rising star and definitely one to watch. Please welcome one of the actresses of my favorite TV show of 2021, Yellowjackets, Mya Lowe. The show just got renewed for a second season, and I just wanted to say congrats on that.
Thank you so much. I am so excited. Yeah.
So I'd love to start off by talking about what drew you specifically to this story.
I mean, it's always been a dream to be on a survival show. I didn't know a ton about the story going into it. It was actually super broad when I auditioned, and it was definitely something that we were learning about as we went on throughout the season. So as we kind of finish an episode, we learn more about the story for the next episode, which made it really suspenseful and interesting. I loved that the story was very female driven. The cast is just it's an amazing cast of strong, talented women. So that really definitely drew me more towards the story, and the fact that we're switching between two time frames. It's written really beautifully, and it made me really interested in the story.
That's awesome that you didn't really know what to expect.
Yeah, absolutely. I had no idea, and it was definitely different from any other project I'd auditioned for before, but we really kind of were learning it all at once together. And every time that a new script came out, we'd all kind of sit there and be scrolling through it and reading it while we'd be on set. And it was very exciting just to kind of be learning about it together and kind of seeing it as we go. Yeah.
And as one of the Yellowjackets, you're stranded, for those who haven't seen the show just yet, you're stranded in this wilderness without food or water, and you kind of have to survive by yourself. It's a very intense plot, and definitely a teenager would be affected mentally and emotionally. How did you prepare for a role like that?
Yeah. So the process between getting casted and going to camera was actually pretty quick for me. So there wasn't a lot of time to really anticipate what it was going to be like. I knew we were going to be shooting outside and that kind of thing. But I think what really helped actually kind of get me into the role was the hair and makeup. For the first couple of shoot days that I did, I was head to toe in dirt and blood because that was the original plane crash scenes. And I think just kind of sitting there, it was a couple hours in makeup and just getting covered in all this stuff and just feeling dirty and greasy and stuff. I think it all really helped play into how I did the role and how how we all did the scenes together. It's interesting going to set and being made to look worse than when you first got there. And that's what made it really unique. And honestly, I really grew to love that part of it, just showing up and being covered in stuff and just not having to care about how you looked, because the worse you looked, the better kind of thing. So I found that, the hair and makeup was kind of my moment to sit and breathe and just let it happen. And then once you're done, you're kind of looking in the mirror and you barely recognize yourself. And the special effects makeup was incredible on that show. And you'll see it throughout the season, just the injuries and the wounds and everything like that. But sometimes I'd look at my hands and I'd see the scabs on my knuckles, and I'd be like, wow, it feels real. So that was one part of it. I didn't find it affected my eating or drinking habits too much. But I did find on set, I didn't drink too much coffee or anything like that. We were supposed to be tired, we're stranded, we're hungry. So I kind of let that part take over a bit more. But yeah, for me, it was really it was the wardrobe and the hair and makeup that helped me kind of get into that role.
Very cool. So as I was researching more about the show, I found that it was shot in Canada, and specifically all the wilderness scenes were shot at a sports park. Is that true?
It was an outdoor sports park, but it was in the forest in Langley. So it was in the woods. Yeah. Which was really cool. Honestly, I've never shot something like that where we were out there for 6 months and off and on, obviously, but kind of being in the woods, it really helped the environment and it felt more authentic. And for certain scenes, we were deep in the woods. And, you know, to the point where you don't even have that much self-service kind of thing. And it felt real at certain points, which is really awesome, especially on the night shoots. That was definitely where it became more real, when there's just no light coming in. And, you know, it gets a little spooky, like it creates that kind of eeriness on set, which I loved.
One of my favorite, like, I keeping up with it episode by episode, but the one recently where it's like you guys find that house and then you're in it and you're doing a seance. That was pretty scary. Like, what was that scene on set?
Oh man, yeah, that was a long one. I remember shooting that one. There's a lot of because of the cast, there's so much coverage to do. There's so many people there and just so many different reactions to get. But the seance was a fun one, especially just with all the candles going out and Lottie screaming. And Courtney did like a wonderful job on that scene, because, you know, having to do that all day, the screaming, the crying, everything, it takes a toll. And we were all really, really proud of that scene. I think by the time we wrapped it, we were like, wow, that was a relief. We did it, we finished it, but it definitely was, that one was a draining one for sure, but in the best way. And yeah, that was one of my favorites to do, just because it was so different from anything else. We got to kind of sit in a circle. We had the blood on our foreheads. It was honestly a lot of fun. Yeah.
This was such a large cast, what we were just talking about. Each character is so well developed, has a unique personality and a backstory. Were you given a backstory for your character, or did you kind of make one up?
I used my wardrobe as a big symbol of what my character would be. The costume department did a great job of having everyone have their own individual style. And you can kind of see it, especially at the beginning of the season, when everyone's in their own clothes and we're all kind of just in this shock. We're just wearing our own things. And obviously as it goes on, for example, I started off in like floral dresses at the beginning. And obviously it's not feasible as you are going on in the season. You don't want to keep wearing dresses. So I started wearing like team gear. And, but when I had those dresses and I was in my fitting and I saw what my character was kind of wearing, I took that as like a key to what my character would be like. And what I saw it kind of as is like, I was a more introverted, vulnerable, innocent, just like a young girl. And I felt that way when I was in these dresses. I felt like I was like a kid. And I think I took that as a big hint for what my character would be. And I let that build in each scene and use that as like my big hint towards that. Yeah.
What was it like to work with the other up-and-coming actresses like Sophie Thatcher and Ella Purnell?
Oh my gosh, it was wonderful. It is not every day that you get to be on such a large cast of women. And I think that was something I was excited about from the very beginning, because not only are they talented, but they're also they all have so much strength in their personalities and in how they carry themselves. And I really felt that each of them brought something different to the table, but it all came together so nicely in the chemistry between characters. So it was really inspiring just getting to, you know, especially on the long days, sit there and watch them in their process and see kind of the work they do on the scenes behind the scenes. So how they interpret the script. I thought it was so inspiring. I really felt like I was learning something every day that I was on set, and just watching the other women around me and Kevin and Steven too. They were all just so wonderful to work with. Yeah.
I know some directors house some of the actors together in some series or TV shows or movies to bond to be able to achieve these better performances. Was this something the directors did with you guys, or were you the housing separately?
We were housing separately. A lot of the girls had places in the same area, which I live near too. When we were filming out in Langley for consecutive days, we'd be housed in a hotel together. But I did find that most of the bonding went on set. Just a lot of, sets, it's a lot of waiting. And especially with this one, which has so much going on, environment wise, there's a lot of waiting. And I found that was when everyone really grew together, grew to learn about each other. And, within the first couple of shoot days, we all were just comfortable and respectful of each other's, like how people wanted to spend their day on set. So like in their free time, certain people would read, some would listen to music, some would play games together. Everyone kind of had their own thing that they did. But one thing I found was that everyone was always there to support each other if one person was having a particularly hard day or just, going through it at the time. I think that was a really wonderful part of being on this set, especially with being surrounded by other women who can really understand what you're going through. I think a lot of the bonding happened on set, which was wonderful.
Oh, that's amazing, because that's so important. Like, I feel like if you don't have that, it's harder to get these great performances, because like if it is draining on set and you don't have like the proper, directors that are like elevating you guys and helping you like just bond and everything, I think that's so important.
Absolutely. Yeah. The chemistry, especially in a show like this, the relationships between the characters, like you can see in the dialogue, obviously, how each person is together. But I think off screen, it's just as important that there's chemistry there and that people feel comfortable around each other, especially on a show that is so vulnerable and real and dark. So yeah, I found that really important.
I'm a writer director, and I always love hearing about the director actor collaboration process. And I'm curious, were there any specific exercises or directions that you were given on set that stood out to you?
We had the pleasure of working with a lot of different directors throughout the season. Jamie Travis was one of the first directors we worked with, and Jamie really stood out to me in the way that he really cared for the acting portion of the scenes just as much as any other part. There's so much going on when we're filming, especially just because of the environment that we're in. There's so many things to take into account, but I found that Jamie really took the time to focus on the acting portion and find those little details and nuances. And I loved that about working with Jamie. Deepa was another incredible director. She paid a lot of attention to the acting portion as well, and specifically to our reactions to everything. She watched on every angle, and she was really taking note of how people react. And she invited us a lot of the time to kind of ask, like, why is this scene happening? And why are you doing that activity? Why is this important to you? And I think that individuality of it was so important, and it was kind of a good reminder of how high the stakes are in the show, because when you're shooting it over period of several months and you get comfortable, it's good to have that reminder of, oh wow, like this is what's happening in the scene and this is a big deal. So having someone there to kind of remind you of that and say like, hey, why are you doing that, it's a nice reminder. Yeah, so she was wonderful.
Thank you for sharing that perspective, because it is interesting to hear like what other directors do on set.
For sure.
Not only you're a great actress, but also a great dancer, and you played Sunny in the J Team. What was the filming process like for that?
Oh, the J Team, that was so much fun. One of my favorite projects I've ever done, for sure. I originally started in dance, and then moved into acting. So getting the chance to play a role that got to do both was like a dream come true, especially for Nickelodeon. And I think what really stood out about that movie was just how close we all got, especially in the rehearsal process. There were so many dances being made. There's so many versions of every dance being made. And we had very long days. And I found that within the couple weeks of rehearsing, we all became so close that by the time we were shooting, it felt like a reward to be on set shooting those scenes. And it's like our hard work is paid off, and now we're here, and now we get to have fun on set. And it's wonderful to be on a set where you feel like you are just surrounded by family, and these people have your back and they know you so well because they've already seen you at your best and your worst. So that was wonderful. And the crew was so great too. There was a lot of positivity on that set for a show that we were shooting so quick. And there were so many things to do, but everyone stayed so positive. Michael Lembeck was our director, and he was wonderful, just so passionate about the project itself. He was so appreciative of everyone's hard work, the crew and the cast, the dancers, everyone. So it's really nice to be on a set like that where there's just this shared like excitement for everything that we're doing. And Michael was really great about that and just very passionate. It's great.
Jojo Siwa has been a huge inspiration for queer youth, and she's been coined like the next Ellen or something like that, and really paving the way for queer representation. What was it like to work with her?
I could go on and on about Jojo for hours. Like, I have nothing but great things to say about her. I've never met someone who's so talented but so humble. And just so hardworking. From the moment she walked into rehearsals, her energy was high and she was so optimistic and excited for us. She made us all feel important and welcomed. And I think that that's such an important thing on a set. And I think that she's deserving of every bit of success that she gets, because seeing her in person work so hard, I know that that's just who she is. It's not an act, it's who she is. And yeah, she really is deserving of her success, and watching her thrive this year has made me so happy for her. Yeah, she brought her A game every single day. She was shooting the most out of anyone, obviously, and had so many pieces to learn, so many lines to learn every day. And I don't think I ever saw her in a bad mood once. Like, never short-tempered ever. Just totally present and excited and appreciative of the people around her. And I think that is so important. And I think it impacted the whole set. And I think that set the tone for the whole shoot of that film, because everyone kind of saw that and they were like, okay, you know what? Yeah, we're excited too. And we're going to spread this positivity and keep it there, because that's what it's about. That's what the movie's about. But it's important that we're doing that off screen too.
So I'd love to hear about your own personal process as an actor. What's one of the first things you do when you get a script?
So when I get a script, lately what I've loved to do is go to a cafe, grab a drink, and sit there and just like be in my own zone and read it. I usually read it like once or twice before I kind of make any decisions around it in terms of like how I'm judging the characters or the relationships between them. I think that there's so much to absorb in a script that you have to be in the right headspace to really take it all in. And for me, that takes more than one read to really wrap my head around. Yeah, I love to analyze the relationship between characters, because, when you're watching a show or movie, that's something that impacts you the most, I find. I think creating your own little ritual as an actor of how you read your scripts, even down to that, I think is so important, because it creates like a balance. It gives you something to look forward to. So when you receive this script, I think just taking the time to go sit for an hour in a cafe and just read through it and really be in your own space is so important. And that's what I've been doing.
Cool. Yeah, I've heard a lot of different things about the rituals. Do you have a specific drink that you drink or like to?
Okay, so that's when you ask. It's usually a matcha latte with oat milk. If I'm extra tired that day, I'll get an oat milk latte. Love those too. But matcha is usually my go-to. It doesn't make me so jittery, but that's what I've been going for.
The oat milk is where it's at. The best.
It is absolute best. Yes.
So you've got a lot of new films and TV series coming up. What is your dream role if you got to choose to play?
So I would love to be in an action film, and I would love to incorporate movement with acting. So it's great doing dance. I think doing something like martial arts would be so cool to train and do a role that incorporated that. Growing up, I was a big fan of Spy Kids, like the biggest fan. Carmen was like my idol. So doing something even like that would be so cool to me. I think that would be like my dream come true.
Who knows? Maybe they'll reboot that. They keep remaking.
I would love that. Yeah.
Those are good. Yeah. Awesome. Do you have any advice for young actors who are just starting out?
I think this year something I've really realized is that you have to remind yourself of the intention behind what you're doing. So I think something about acting that I've learned is that it requires a lot of self-work, and it requires a lot of realizations and reflection. And you have to take care of your well-being. So something I'd say for sure is for people starting out in acting, as you're training, get into a habit of reflecting as you go. And I find therapy super helpful for just learning more about yourself and maybe habits that you learned growing up that maybe aren't the most helpful to your mental health, things like that. I think those are really important parts of being in this craft. Because as much as acting is like this really fun, incredible release, it's also a good opportunity to learn so much about yourself. So yeah, I invite anyone who's starting out in acting to take that time as well to be taking care of themselves as they go along and not throw their whole selves at this one thing. Make sure that they're really taking the time to be by themselves and reflect and take it as like a growth experience as well.
That's great advice. I definitely feel like mental health should be talked more about in the film industry because the days are so long. Sometimes there are a lot of negative people on set, and it's like, I wonder if we change the way we ran the sets, like with possibly like a 10-minute meditation in the beginning. I know some directors have done that, and it does show like on set. So I don't know. That's how I want to run my sets one day.
I think that's such a good idea. I've never even thought about that, but I think that's so important. Meditation's incredible. And I mean, there's so many people on set and so many different energies going on. And some people might come to set in like a really bad mood because something terrible just happened. And maybe, having that 10 minutes to everyone just like sit down and refocus together. I think that'd be incredible. It's a great idea.
So what's next for you?
Okay. So next year I have some projects coming out. So I will be on season 4 of Charmed, playing the character Bryn, which I had so much fun shooting. That was incredible. So I'm really excited for that to come out. And then there's an upcoming show. It's CBC Gem and Netflix, and it's called Fakes. And I'll be on that, and I'll be playing the role of Sophie. So those should be coming out this upcoming year at some point. And yeah, I'm excited for those, and I hope you guys enjoy them when they're out as well.
Congrats. I'm excited to see you in them. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I know it's Sunday.
Oh yeah, no, I'm hanging out today. So this is great. Thanks so much for having me.
I'm excited to see more work from you. Thank you so much for joining us on Dare to Dream Productions podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.